Hi everyone. Just making sure that the camera and the sound is working. Looks like it is. So it's been a while since I did a live, and many reasons for that. As some of you know, I just recently, 3 months ago, moved to Bali, so taking some time to really settle in and ground here. And I must admit, it's been a very wonderful process. Also very transformational, which I'll get into a little bit during this stream. But I'm really glad to see some of you on the live stream already, which is great. Please let me know via Messenger if you can hear me, or you can just write in the comments below. Everything's okay? Okay. Yeah, let me know. Let me know in comments if you hear me. So just post, yeah. Hi, welcome Liana. Okay, so you can hear me. That's great. Thanks a lot for that feedback. Okay, so I want to talk, first of all, at the big picture, talking about the biggest possible picture about COVID. There's no doubt that we are facing something incredibly powerful at a collective level. It's a highly polarizing thing that's happening to humanity at this time, and I wanted all of us to step back a little bit and try and understand it from the bigger picture, and then we'll drill down into how it affects us personally, and some of the things that I would recommend that you start to integrate into your own life to start to come to terms with this. But I do think it's important to understand the big picture. So right now, and for most of this year, we're going through something really big from the astrological point of view. I mean, Saturn and Uranus, not Pluto. Saturn and Uranus are actually in square to each other. And you couldn't get two more different archetypically planets, okay? You have Saturn, which is associated with structure. It's associated with the past. It's associated with the aspects of humanity that are really, we could say, our past karma as a collective. It's very much associated with our grounding, our ability to be grounded in our own life, in our own body. But collectively, for humanity, Saturn represents everything that is unconscious within us, that is hidden and is running us from the unconscious. And this is why, at a personal level, our Saturn returns. We have two of them, one at 30 years of age and one at around about 60 years of age. I mean, just before 59, 60 and 29, 30. And most people experience that time as a big transformational time, and it's often a time when we really start to think seriously about our life, and seriousness is a quality of Saturn. What's not known about Saturn is that once we integrate that energy into our life, we really find our place, we find our grounding, we find our, if you like, our destiny within the whole, within the collective. And then you have Uranus, which is, so far removed from Saturn, and its nature is to really open humanity up to the next level of their evolution, And so we have this square. A square is a tension between these two at the collective level. And so I believe, and I see very clearly, that COVID is playing out this very powerful astrological square between the where humanity wants to go towards, and Uranus, it rules the planet Aquarius. And maybe some of you know, in many sort of New Age teaching, spiritual teaching, we are in the age of Aquarius, and as we enter into the next 5 or 10 years, there's a lot of emphasis on Aquarius. Pluto will be moving into Aquarius. So Pluto is actually moving through the Saturn sign right now, the Capricorn sign, and it's really breaking down all of these old structures, okay, all of these old ways. And what you're seeing really now with COVID is you're seeing these old structures, these power structures, centralized governments, medical ideology that really doesn't emphasize at all the sovereignty of the individual and their right to choose and their right to be empowered with their own health decisions. So we're seeing this incredible control, in many places, and it's under the guise of, it's for your best interest, and we love you, we're going to take care of you, we care about you, and we don't want people to die. But the way they're going about it is you can see is very much based on fear and based on control. And I have no judgment about that. I just see it from the biggest possible perspective, and I see it as the old Saturn holding on to the structures of the past, the control of the past, this centralized idea that individuals are less important than the collective, and and of course, there's an aspect of truth of that when love is the ruling factor. When love is there and we all see each other as in something together, then of course that becomes very important. But that's not what this is about. You can see that there's an incredible amount of fear, and then that fear generates a lot of control, and you can see that right now. And the other thing, of course, is that it's really focusing on this idea that 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 nature is somehow something that has to be controlled, And again, you can look very clearly at this with, for example, the way they use science, to put chemicals on crops to help them grow more, rather than allowing nature to recycle, And so there's this tendency that's happening now, and this is the sort of, I could say it's the shadow side of Uranus, where we tend to think that technology, which is a wonderful thing, but when technology is in the service of fear or control, then it becomes something completely different, But when technology is in service to the heart, then it's a completely other thing, But that's not what's happening now. You're actually seeing this split in humanity, this polarizing in humanity between human beings that really want to follow heart and love and the recognition that we're all in this together, and that it's that there is a movement towards more consciousness and more love happening, but these powers that be, these old, what I call the old Saturn guard, they're holding on tooth and nail, not only holding on, but actually diminishing people's sovereign rights. And you have all this censorship, and you have all this misinformation, and I mean, I won't get, all of you know what's happening, but I want you to understand it from the biggest possible perspective. And there's something arising in the collective that we as individuals, we need to be conscious of, because otherwise we're going to feel a victim of this, rather than seeing it as something really incredibly empowering. So how I see this is, I see this as a collective healing crisis of humanity. And I honestly see that we're going to be polarized. Humanity is going to polarize. And many other people have talked about this, but we're either going to be moving down this artificial intelligence route, this putting science before nature, and we're going to be seeing more and more control and no sense of the power of life, the power of love and life. And we're going to see very clearly that as people wake up to this, they're going to be actually seeing very deeply inside each one of them that the way we live is not at all in harmony with nature and with life, you know. So I want to draw it down now. So there is this big astrological square happening, this tension between where humanity wants to move towards and the old guard holding on very tightly. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the COVID symptoms from the Taoist perspective. And so many of you know that one of the symptoms is that you lose your taste and smell. This is very interesting to me. I've been thinking a lot about this. And the taste is, in Taoist thinking, is very much related to the earth element. It's related to our sense of groundedness, our sense of being able to receive the joy and love and goodness of life. You know, and so when we lose our taste, it's like indicative. It's telling us that humanity has lost touch with the ability to receive the love and support of life. That's what taste represents. It represents our enjoyment of life. It's a beautiful thing to taste food, you know. But there's a deeper meaning involved in that. And my deep sense is that this losing the taste and losing the smell, it's pointing to something, again, very collective, but also affects us individually. It's telling us, in my experience, it's telling us that we've lost touch with our ability to be grounded, to be in the present moment, and to truly embody being here on the earth and being grounded in the earth. This is what I think this loss of taste represents. And then the loss of smell is very interesting because this is related to the metal element. And metal in the Taoist thinking is very much related to our personality. It's related to our tendency to take life personally. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that what you can see in the collective is everyone has a personal view of what they think the truth is. And then this is where we get this conflict between people who believe in the science and then people who are much more believing in the sovereignty and the freedom. But both sides are very personally attached. So there's this sense of being personally attached to the experience of life. And so, you know, when people get COVID, these two elements in the body are being deeply triggered, the loss of taste and the loss of smell. And I really see this as like a metaphor for the fact that, one, humanity has become too personal, taking everything so personally, rather than seeing that, you know, we're all in this together. And the personal viewpoint, honestly, it really doesn't serve anything, especially if that personal viewpoint is not based on love. And so what I see with this loss of smell, it's like reminding human beings to not lose touch, to not lose touch with this sense of how important love is. You know, the lungs, which is ruled by metal, is very close to the heart. In hospitals, you know, the lungs and the hearts are very much connected, you know, and oftentimes people that have heart surgery, they sometimes get infections in the lungs, and they're very connected in Chinese medicine and Western medicine, you know. So the lungs are this part of us from a psychological point of view that tends to take everything personally. And that way of taking things personally is what actually causes so much trouble in the world. And I believe that the COVID is bringing into awareness this sense of our personal self and how attached we are to it, you know. So these two things, this being attached to our personal self, and that's different to loving oneself. You know, when we're attached to the personal self, it's like we have no recognition of our depth. We have no recognition that we're connected to life and that there's a deeper aspect to each of us. And so and we all do it. We all take things personally. I know I've done it for many, many years, and I've gradually learned to stop taking everything that happens around me so personally, because it's not personal. It really isn't. And once you feel that, once you start to recognize that inside of yourself, There's so much freedom in that, incredible amount of freedom. And so I believe this COVID is really bringing to the surface these two elements that are really suffering collectively for all of us right now. This ability, our ability to receive the goodness and the love of nature, and our tendency to always take things personally, and to not perceive that we are part of a collective, and that life is actually not personal. It's incredibly impersonal. And when you start to heal your lungs, you realize this. You realize that nothing is personal. So I remember my friend Richard Rudd giving this beautiful quote about forgiveness, and I really love it. And he said, forgiveness is the recognition that nothing is personal. And I think this is a really powerful understanding of what forgiveness is. You know, that it's nothing personal. And you can see in the media, everyone takes everything so personally. And it causes so much pain. And so I believe this loss of taste and loss of smell is just pointing us collectively to this phenomenon that we take everything so personally, and that we've lost touch with the nourishing power of the earth and life, you know. So these are the things that I wanted to share. This Uranus square Saturn, and we're, you know, I think we're coming up for the third one. I think I'm currently in the second one, the third one happening near the end of this year. These are very powerful, you know, this Saturn Uranus square, where the old guard holds on as tight as possible, and Uranus comes along and says, you know what, that's not going to work anymore, you know. So I'm expecting to see a lot more of this. You know, I just want to prepare everyone. I think we're going to see a lot more control, much higher levels of control from central governments. And I just want to prepare all of you for that, because it's not going to go back to the way we think it is. But there is going to be a sense that we can choose our own way, our own unique way. Uranus is about discovering your own unique way. So I've talked a lot about this on some of my previous posts, and you know, people ask me, like, what is the best way to deal with this control and this fear that the governments are putting out, that media is putting out, and a lot of censorship. You know, what is the best way to deal with that? And so from my perspective, it's fine to get angry, it's fine to get frustrated, but you shouldn't spend too much time with that. You need to honor your feelings around that, you know, like really honor that you're getting triggered by this, triggered by the control, feeling sad, you know, all of the emotions that come up, all of the personal emotions that come up. The best thing to do is just honor them, recognize them, but then move to your soul, move to the inner smile, move to that consciousness inside of you, you know. And if you feel inspired through love, not through emotional reaction, but through love to stand up for freedom, then that's fine, you know. But if you stand up for freedom from an emotional reaction, that's really adding to the problem. It's really, because it's that metal element of taking things personally that are actually very big collective issues. And so I would use this time and opportunity to really root out all of the parts inside of you that take things personally, number one, and to really get really clear on your health, because the earth is related to the health of the physical body. It's really deeply related to that. And so this is a time for all of us to really go deep into what health truly is, what that means, you know. And I love the Taoist perspective on health. That, you know, the Taoists say that the highest form of medicine, you know, medicine means to make whole, to complete. And the highest form of medicine is to nourish your own destiny, is to nourish that. I need to get a power supply for my laptop. I suddenly saw it just suddenly went out. So I'm going to ask my partner to get me the power so I don't have to leave. Irina, could you get me the plug, please? Because the battery's gone down. So, because I want to answer any questions that might be coming up. So please write any questions in the chat. And okay, so I got lots of. So someone's asking here, I'm in the midst of the dark night of the soul. Could this be contributing? Oh, absolutely. You know, I this COVID experience, from what I can tell, when it actually hits you, it tends to bring up all of the things inside of you that are unconscious. So whether you've got COVID or not, there is this purging aspect. You know, Uranus comes along and says, you know, Uranus has this energy, this very high frequency energy, and it has the tendency to raise the vibration. So what you're noticing with COVID is it moves very fast. It's very contagious, you know. So from the Uranus-Saturn square, you can see that this very speeding up of things inside each one of us. So when you say dark night of the soul, humanity collectively is going through that. So there's a collective aura of people going through that. Can you imagine how many people have lost their loved ones? You know, how many people are in fear? So this is why it's so important to connect to nature, This is why embodiment practices, what I'm teaching, what some of my colleagues are teaching, you know, like getting your diet really more natural, you know, and spending time in nature and really taking care of your body, you know, like really truly seeing that the body is the temple of God, you know, and because this is so important. So it's okay to feel like you're going through the dark night of soul. This is part of the process. You know, so many people I'm speaking to now are going through this process. And, you know, I really encourage all of you. I mean, I have lots of tools to support people, like the bone breathing, for example, which really gets you into your body. The Wujigong course is available online. You know, I really encourage all of you to start practicing Wujigong. If you're really going through, you know, a dark night of the soul, please take my Wujigong class. Please take my bone breathing class. They're available online. They're very reasonably priced, and they will really support you in being able to get deeper into these shadow aspects that are being purged out of your body right now. So I would say, if you're going through the dark night of the soul, if you're really experiencing you need that support. You need the support of nature, and you need to get more grounded in your body, the earth, you know. So yeah, you can reach out to me personally. I'll do my best to support you. So yeah. So here's a lovely question. If COVID having a polarizing effect, or is it the case that society could react in different ways to an adversity like this, but it is reacting in a polarized way? Looking back at humanity, there certainly seems to be an easy button to press. Yeah, this is great. This is great. I love what you've said. This is Anne Lovedale Minshaw. So I'm just going to read it out because it's wonderful. I'm going to read out the whole thing again. Is COVID having a polarizing effect, or is it the case that society could react in different ways to an adversity like this, but it is reacting in a polarized way? Looking back in human history, there certainly seems to be an easy button to press deep inside us about offering the other tribe in a nasty way, but there must be examples of different cultural responses too. What are the substrates and contexts and politics and needs which have to lead us to this very brittle divide in rule type place? And how could that be different or changed? Yeah, I mean, I think this comes down to the emotional body. I mean, I think, you know, from my perspective, our emotional body at the collective level is very immature. It's very rare to find someone who has integrated the dark and light inside of themselves at an individual level. And this is what my work's about in internal alchemy. It's about getting the light and shadow inside of you integrated and then that part of you connected back to the soul. Without that integration process, it's very difficult to connect back to the soul, because we're so polarized at the emotional level. So from my perspective, humanity needs to mature emotionally. Like, we're very smart intellectually. We could say we're very how would I say it? We're very spiritually, there's so much out there in the spiritual community, in the spiritual world, and what I see is there is a lack of integration with the body and the emotions. And this is part of my work, is to really harmonize that. And what's it take to heal that? Deep honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves that we have these polarized aspects inside of us. That's the nature of Saturn, by the way. Saturn tends to push everything down into the unconscious and pretend it's not there, And so humanity's been doing that for eons, And yes, this whole thing about tribes and, defending our own tribal territory. And from a meta perspective, it is very difficult to step outside of your tribal affiliations, and to really find that level of impersonal love that's possible for humanity. But we're just scratching the surface of that. We have to learn, first of all, to stop taking things so personally. And two, we have to start recognizing that we are polarized internally. So what we're seeing externally, this whole polarization, this war, we keep seeing war on the planet. This is a war that's really just reflecting the war that's happening in each one of us, where we haven't integrated the dark and the light within us. It's as simple as that from my perspective. And it really takes some deep courage, which is related to the lungs, and honesty, which is also related to the lungs, to go deep into your own shadows, to go deep into this light and dark. And honestly, the only way is just complete honesty, complete honesty with yourself about how reactionary you are inside, how much violence there is inside of you, how much fear there is there, how much victimization and disappointment and anger. We carry all of these very deep inside, and all we need to do is just accept and be honest that we have it. That's the first step, because everything that we react to outside is really just a reflection of our own lack of integration, lack of emotional integration especially. And so this is what I see. I think it's a wonderful question, and my answer is that until individually we emotionally become mature and understand our emotional body. And again, I offer support for that. I have a 6-week program, I think, on emotional alchemy, how to really integrate the shadow aspects of our emotional body. And that's available on my website as well. So yeah, wonderful question, and I really appreciate the long question. It's really beautiful. No, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for that. Hello, Mr. Alchemist. I love your live lectures. Thank you. Good luck. Yeah, I hope you're doing well there in Bulgaria. Bulgaria seems to be one of the few countries in Europe that has stood up for the sovereignty of its people, and the people in Bulgaria seem to really be shining an example on the rest of Europe. I'm very impressed with what the Bulgarians are doing. They really seem to have a much more deeper connection to the truth of what's happening in the world. So well done, Bulgaria. Okay, so unless there's any more questions, I'm probably going to finish this this live stream. I really appreciate the questions, because the questions help me really go deeper into some of these thoughts. So if anyone does have any questions or feedback that they'd like to just bring up, I'd appreciate it, because I really enjoy bouncing off the questions. So please comment. So it looks like there's no more questions. So I think we'll end the live stream. But I'll be posting this on my page and also in some of the groups that I manage. And expect to see a few more live streams over the next month. I'm just building up to my second Inner Alchemy mentoring program that will be happening in January 2022. So the information on that is available on my website. It's open to 10 students only. We already have 2 people confirmed for it, so there's just 8 places left. And this is a 6-month program where we go deep into internal alchemy. Let's talk a little bit about alchemy and what it is. So it's really an integration process, and it's really a deeper understanding of our personality and how to integrate the personality with the soul. That's the main purpose of internal alchemy, is to become integrated. And this is something that the Taoists have been practicing for thousands of years, and it's truly a miraculous internal process that we learn in the mentoring program. It's a certification program. I've just taken 10 students through. A lot of them have qualified as internal alchemists, and they can teach some of the alchemical formulas. They've also qualified as Wujigong teachers, and they also have a international certification with SOFT, which is the Society of Free Taoists. So if you're interested in that program, there is a discount that happens if you pay before November. So there is an interview process if you want to be considered for that program, and you can find out all the details on my website. So with great love and respect. There's a question here. Great. So this is from Carmen. What could I do personally to get things together in this separation? Well, I know you have already learned Wujigong, Carmen, so you already have a really great tool. And what I would say is like deep honesty. I know you're a very honest person, so I think you're probably already doing it. I've known you for quite a while, and if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that. What could I do personally to get things together in this separation? Are you talking personally, or are you talking about in the collective? But they're actually the same, because the more you integrate internally, the more you help the collective, So I would say that we're not going to see something change in the outer world until all of us have started to become more integrated emotionally and more mature emotionally. Honestly, you only have to look at our politicians and the media and all these things. Everyone is so emotionally charged, that there's no idea of the peace of the soul. Everyone is so emotionally charged, and it's so detrimental to our health, it's detrimental to humanity, it's detrimental to love. And honestly, this is just a sign, that we're emotionally immature as a race. I really say that with all sincerity. So as long as you're being honest with yourself, as long as you're recognizing you've got all these emotional reactions inside of you, but you don't. Once you feel it and you recognize it and you allow it to arise inside of you, that is the integration process. And it's like you don't believe it, So I often say that our emotional body is like the weather, but the sun is like the soul, and so the weather's always changing, So this is one of the important things to understand about thoughts and feelings. They're like the weather. They're always changing. They're not reliable, Like one day we could be feeling one thing, the next day we could be feeling something else. So spiritual maturity is the ability to see the impermanence of thoughts and feelings. They really are like the weather. So it would be like all of us going out on a rainy day and saying, "Oh my God, the sun's gone," And that's what we do at a personal level. We take all of these very deep and dark feelings that happen, and we make them our identity. And they're not. They're just patterns of chi inside of us. But at the same time, we can't just deny them and say, well, I'm just going to focus on the sun, which is what a lot of spiritual paths do. They say, the sun is the most important thing. Just go there. Forget about your thoughts and feelings. But you can't forget about them because they're life force, So they have to be integrated because they're chi. once you understand that negative thoughts are just chi, and negative feelings are just chi, and so we have to recognize that those chi patterns need to be transformed inside of us and integrated. And then once we do that, then we can merge with the soul, with the sun, with that part of us that never changes. But so many people, they want to go to the sun straight away without doing the integration process at the personality level. You actually can do both. You can spend a lot of time. This is what the inner smile is. It's what I teach at the beginning, and it's the end practice. Is the inner smile is like recognizing that your soul is always loving everything, as in embracing everything. It's not judging anything, right? But most of us are not in that place. We're not in a place of non-judgment, especially around COVID. And so we have to see that our personality is highly polarized, you know. And we need to be able to integrate that. And once we integrate that, then we can merge with the soul. And that's what the alchemy process is about, you know. And it's clearly designed to become more grounded and integrated. So, yeah, long answer to your question. I feel sad in my soul when I sense and I see and hear all the growing separation around me. Yeah, it's completely normal to feel sad. Completely normal. I was here today. Yesterday I was in Bali, you know, and I mean I am here in Bali, of course. I'm trying to say is yesterday I was having some breakfast, and there's a lot of people in Bali who have lost their livelihood because of the pandemic, and because there's not many tourists here, and my heart goes out to these people, these fellow brothers and sisters of humanity, and I was feeling so deeply. Many of them must feel so abandoned, and feel sad, and feel like life has abandoned them in some way, and so I do my own way to contribute to that. There's things that I've been doing to support them as best I can, with my love and my support, but it's totally normal to feel sad. Many people feel abandoned right now. Many people feel abandoned by life. They've lost their faith. Many people are very disappointed. So it's completely normal to feel sadness. Remember, loss of smell, that's the lung energy, which is about sadness and disappointment, okay? So it's like a collective purging of all of that sadness, all of that disappointment. It's like the lung energy is somehow masking the love of our soul, and there's so much sadness in the past, in the collective past of humanity, so much disappointment. And I think it's what you're feeling. If you're at all sensitive, it's completely normal to feel sad about what's happening, So do your best to acknowledge that, to recognize that sadness, and then once you've recognized it, once you've validated, and once you've fully felt it, then you can just go back to that sense of your own self, But try not to get seduced by these very deep, dark feelings that are coming up right now. And of course, many times we will. Yeah. So yes, I practice Wujigong every day, which is a blessing for me. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. So you can bring that sadness into the Wujigong form and ask to go to the root of it. Ask your soul to really release whatever the sadness is, and to bring it into the center and to transmute it, So we can use these these patterns of chi, whether it's sadness or anger or disappointment. We can use these patterns. So remember try not to take them so personally. That's the metal, right? This loss of sense of smell. We take everything that happens in our energy body so personally. And of course, we're just not, we don't have that perspective how not to take it personally, because it's so in our face. When we feel bad, we personalize it. And I've been learning over the years to not personalize my feelings. It's definitely a mature place to get to. And, I'm being humbled on that level over and over again. But it is part of this healing process that humanity is going through, that Uranus is bringing in this new way of being with ourselves. Okay, great question. Thank you for asking that, Carmen. Our government fell 3 to 4 months ago, and since then there is no infection. Okay, I'd like to hear more about that. Our government fell 3 to 4 months ago. So you mean there was a change of government, Lupo? Is that what you're saying? I need to do some research of what's been happening in Bulgaria. It sounds like there was a change of government, and then they had a more enlightened way of working, which sounds amazing. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Sounds like Bulgaria could be leading the way in a different way. I know Singapore has also decided to treat COVID more like the flu, and not to get so, in such a thing with this, and really try and just, be in a different place, So we're seeing some countries, responding in different ways, I think that's the funny thing, we see this every country sort of responding in the same way, but some countries are responding differently. Like India started using ivermectin, Mexico did. Like they're recognizing there are other things to do than just be vaccinated. So by the way, I'm not an anti-vaccination person. I think it's really important to vaccinate people that are very old or very sick. But I think it's a mistake to try and vaccinate everyone. I think we're only going to get into trouble with that. We're going to create more stronger and stronger variants because we'll have something called an escape. But that's again just the intellect, And really the most important thing is all of us have to recognize that this is something much, much deeper than health. It's something purging out of the collective of humanity. So good things are coming. But I feel like there's a little bit more darkness on the horizon, as these shadows are purged. But I do believe good things are coming for all of us who are putting love first. Okay. Just checking any other questions here. Make sure I get to everyone. We have an interim government. Okay, no government here now. We have interim government. Okay. So there's no centralized form of power. That sounds amazing. Hey, Veronica, welcome. It's good to see you here. Yeah. So wonderful to come live to all of you. And I hope many people get to see this and hear about my thoughts. If you want to learn more about Uranus-Saturn square, there's lots of articles online. Just put in Uranus, Saturn square. You can see you can get more understanding of those archetypes of what those two things represent. I mean, basically, we're going to see a huge shake-up on all sorts of levels. Especially anywhere where there's centralized power and control. You're going to see it in the financial markets. With the rising now of cryptocurrencies and DeFi and. Some of these cryptocurrency companies, there's one in particular called Cardano, who are trying to, change the lives of millions of Africans, and they really have a beautiful vision, a really Aquarian vision for humanity, and it's wonderful. Again, Aquarius is all about new technology. But like I said before, that technology has to be governed by the heart, by our humanity, not just, blindly followed. That's the Saturn energy. Is like, only if you're vaccinated can you heal, and this is so wrong, and I think intuitively we know that deep inside that it's not just about being vaccinated. Being vaccinated without dealing with your health, without being honest about your emotional body, these are all just smoke screens. It just covers things up, and so yeah. We've got to be much more holistic and much more open in our view. I mean, I love science, it's wonderful, but it has to be governed by the heart, not by fear, not by control, and this is my main beef with Western medicine, is that they feel like they can just suppress everything, So Western medicine is great for emergency intervention, that's what it's good for, but when it moves away from that, and it tries to heal things like depression with pills, or a bad back, anything chronic, they just suppress symptoms. It's just pathetic. It's just not good. It suppresses everything. So Western medicine, emergency intervention. You get run over, you have a heart attack. That's what it's great for. But the rest it's useless. Chinese medicine, far superior. Because it treats the body as a whole, not as individual parts, you know. So please understand that I'm not against science. I think it's wonderful, you know, but you have to understand where its strength is and where its weakness is, you know. Same, you know, if you're an acupuncturist and you get run over, you don't put needles in you, you go to the hospital and you use Western medicine. It's great for that. Emergency intervention, that's what it's great for. The rest is, it doesn't work. It's just suppressing symptoms, you know, suppressing the immune system or trying to artificially stimulate the immune system instead of trusting the immune system, you know. You know, oh my God, you know, it's just, we have so much to learn, you know, we have so much to learn. Yeah. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. I love the questions. Anything else? Anyone want to? Otherwise, I'll just end the live stream. Okay, I think I'll just give it 2 more minutes just in case there's any questions. So please share this video on your timelines and with friends. I think people need to understand what's happening, you know, in the world. And I'm available. You know, you can always send me a private message. And like I said, I have a lot of support material available for people that are really struggling at this time, you know. And there's a lot of teachers that I've trained on my website that are trained in internal alchemy now. You can check those out. So on my website you have teachers of Wujigong, that you also have teachers of Wujigong that have also trained with me, have gone through this 6-month inner alchemy program, who are available for, you know, for working with you and working in different countries with you. So yeah, they're available. Okay, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's wonderful to see you all, and don't lose faith, don't lose hope in love. Trust your own love, trust your connection to love, and do your best to, you're going to get triggered by what's going to happen, you know, emotionally you're going to get triggered, and use that as a way to understand where you're not free, you know, and just remember that the emotional body is under an incredible process of being purified right now. The metal energy is about purification, you know. The earth energy is about nourishment and nurturing yourself, you know. So loss of taste, loss of smell, but relating to the metal and earth elements. Yeah. And of course, COVID kills people through the lungs, you know, which is the metal. It's the main organs that run the metal element. Is the lungs and the large intestine. Large intestine is where we hide everything. You know, it's where we hide all of our dark shadow feelings. That's in the intestines. You know, so COVID is really representing, you know, at a collective level, the you know, bringing to the surface all of these things that are hidden inside of us. And it was amazing. I was watching a news report the other day in Florida, you know, where there's such polarization with the people that want to wear masks and the people that don't want their kids to wear masks, and it's just so much anger, and it's really, you can really feel it, you know. It's very deep, you know, and it's triggering some very deep things in people, you know. And honestly, emotional reactivity is not gonna save the day, you know. So emotional integration and honesty with ourselves is what will change things, you know. Getting strong in our bodies, getting, you know, get really honest with yourself. If you're overweight, you know, if you're like lying to yourself, you know, like you there's a quiet voice in all of us that lets us know where we're not nourishing ourselves fully, you know. So if you're a little bit overweight, you're smoking, or, you know, there's no judgment against any of these things, but you've got to get honest about where you're compromising yourself, you know. So it's not about being perfect, it's about being honest. Okay, I think I'm going to end the stream there. Lots of love, everyone. and feel free to reach out personally if you have any questions.